The Trade Copier TF Master Expert Advisor, which is offered for a variety of different platforms on the TradingFinder website, is available for traders and users. Traders can easily download the Expert Advisor file for both MetaTrader 4 and MetaTrader 5 platforms directly from this section. To learn more about how the Expert Advisor works and operates, they can refer to and carefully review the information provided on this page. From the Navigator section, we select the Expert Advisor file, and by dragging the file onto the chart, we run the Expert Advisor. We enter the Inputs tab, and in this tab, you need to enter your own dedicated license for this Expert Advisor here. To obtain a license, you can visit the TradingFinder website and get your own dedicated license for this Expert Advisor from the Support section, then enter it here. Just please note that the license you receive is only valid for that specific device and will not work on other devices. After that, I click the Confirm button, and here the Expert Advisor will run for me. On the other platform as well, I run the Expert Advisor in this section, enter the license, and then click the Confirm button. When the indicator is activated and displayed on the chart, a panel will appear on the chart. By clicking on the top section of the panel, we can easily move and reposition it around the chart, or by clicking on the top section, we can minimize it to its smallest possible size and select the Minimize option. By clicking again, we can restore it to its default state. The TF Master Trade Copier Expert is a very special, unique, and dedicated tool specifically designed for traders who are interested in or who want to do copy trading from one trading platform to another trading platform. For example, in this demonstration here I have chosen the master platform as MetaTrader 4, which is a widely used and popular trading platform, so that trades, including all types of trading orders, from one device can be copied to several devices or just a single device, depending on the trader's preference. The platform that issues, initiates, or sends the orders is called the master platform, and the platform that receives, accepts, or executes the orders is called the slave platform. In this particular example, I select MetaTrader 4 as the master platform and MetaTrader 5 as the slave platform, which demonstrates the flexibility of the tool. Of course, in this specific case, both platforms are using the same broker, but it is important to note that we can use different brokers and various platforms, and there are absolutely no restrictions or limitations on the choice of platform or broker. This means that traders have complete freedom and flexibility to choose any broker or platform combination that best suits their trading needs and strategies. This expert is a local copy trading expert, and it exclusively performs copy trading operations between platforms that are installed and running on the same device or system. In other words, all copy trading activities are strictly limited to platforms present on a single unified system. At the top section of the panel, two times are displayed. The first one is the server time, and the second one is the GMT time. The server time corresponds to the broker's server time, which you can see here, and the GMT time refers to the system time. All trades are executed based on this server time. In the lower section of the panel, there are three modes: Mode, Master, and Slave. When running the Expert Advisor, we work with the Mode tab, and at the bottom, we can select one of the three options: Master, Slave, or Read Only. Here, I select this platform as the Master, or the command sender, and switch the Off option to On. At this point, we see the command confirmation, and it displays Read File Successful for us. In the MetaTrader 5 platform, I selected a Slave and also switched the Off option to On. Here as well, we see the confirmation of the Expert Advisor running. Now I will execute a trade. A trade should have been executed for me in this section, and on the master platform, which has sent the order to the slave platform, we can see here as well that the same trade with the same volume has been executed for us, and by closing the trade in this section, we can see that the trade is also closed. Also, by carefully selecting a stop loss and take profit level, you can better manage your risk and reward. The orders are sent, and the stop loss and take profit orders are also received by the slave platform, where they are then executed here. For the master platform, you enter the master tab, and for the slave platform, you enter the slave tab. Here we can also select the settings related to the master platform, and in this section we can adjust the settings related to the slave platform as well. The first tab is related to the Date and Time tab, and by selecting this section, we can set filters here to execute commands within different time intervals and on various trading days, allowing us to filter and select accordingly. In the very first section of this interface, which is specifically called Copying Times, we are provided with the option to select from 3 different time filters that are used for sending commands. For example, in this demonstration, I am going to select a particular time interval. The first interval that I am choosing starts from 9 o'clock in the morning, which is 9 a.m., and continues all the way until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which is 1 p.m. After that, the next time interval that can be selected is from the first time filter is set to include the period from 4 p.m., which is 4 o'clock in the afternoon, to 3 p.m. or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The third filter is set to cover the time from 8 p.m., which is 8 o'clock in the evening, to 12 a.m., also known as midnight. To successfully save the changes that you have made in the settings, it is necessary that you close the tab, as this is the only way to ensure that the settings are actually saved and applied. Here, in this particular example, we can clearly observe that the server time falls within the specific time range where we previously set the filters, and by executing a trade during this period, we can see that the commands are indeed issued and the trade is executed as expected. However, if I decide to set a filter here for executing commands, for example, if I want to restrict the execution of commands to a certain time frame, such as from 8 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock in the morning, then by executing a trade, no command is sent to the slave platform, and the trade is only executed on the master platform. Here, we can also see that our server time does not match the time we set in the filter, and it does not fall within the filtering intervals. By default, it changes it. The next section is related to copying dates, where we can filter and select different trading days as we wish. For example, right now it is Monday, and while we can easily execute a trade here, knowing that the trade will also be executed for us on the slave account. But if I specifically filter out Monday here and actually deactivate it, no order will be placed when I execute a trade. We can select any of these based on our desired time intervals so that orders are only placed on the specific trading days we want. In the next section, we can also select the difference server to GMT, which by default the expert detects the time difference and displays it here for us. By default, it is set to 120 minutes. The next tab is related to the symbol tab, where we can filter our desired trading symbols. The first part is related to market watch symbols, and by enabling this checkbox, all trading symbols that are in the market watch are allowed to have their orders executed. By selecting the All Chart option, only the trading symbols whose charts are open and running below are eligible for order execution, and we can execute their trades. By selecting the One Chart option, only the chart on which we have run the expert will have its trades and orders executed. I will execute a trade, and you can see that the trade is also executed for us in this section. However, if I execute a trade on a different symbol or trading pair, it does not issue any orders for me in this section. Whereas, for example, if I select the market watch mode on the interface, by executing a trade on another chart, we see that the orders are issued for us. The last option available here is the one that pertains specifically to custom symbols, where we are able to enter the particular trading symbols that we want to use, so that only those specific symbols' orders are actually issued for a slave platform. For example, here I enter the symbol GBPUSD. You must pay close attention to this point. If your broker uses suffixes or prefixes for trading symbols, you must enter the suffix or prefix here. Currently, in the broker that I am using, the trading symbols all have the suffix underline, so I make sure to enter this suffix in this section. I save the settings and execute a trade, and as you can see, the trade is executed. And if I execute a trade on another symbol, for example, the currency pair USD CAD, the order will not be sent to the slave. Only the symbols that we have specifically listed in this section will have their orders sent for us. In the next section, we enter the trading symbols for which we don't want orders to be sent. So here, for example, I enter the same GBP USD symbol. If I execute a trade, its order will not be sent to the slave. However, by executing a trade on other symbols, I'm able to activate the market mode, AUX. From the custom symbols section, where there are currently no symbols listed, I switch it to market watch mode and then save the settings to ensure the changes are applied. Here, again, I execute a trade on the USD CAD symbol, and as you can see, the trade is executed for me in this section and its orders are sent to the slave. They change it to the default mode. And I save the settings here. The next tab is related to both long and short positions. If I don't want the system to send an order for a certain trade, I can select the trade type mode here. For example, I disable the long trade type here, which means that if I execute a long trade, no order will be sent. But if I execute a short trade, you can see that it opens a sell position for me here, which means it can enable or disable these states. The next tab is the General tab, where we can enable or disable the sending of the magic number. By default, it is enabled, but we can set it to disabled. In the next section, we can enable or disable the Convert Magic option here, which gives us two modes, and we can activate both options. And here, at this point, we can perform the Convert Magic transformation, which is especially useful when we want to carefully manage the slave section and individually customize the positions and their numbering exactly as we wish. After that, we can manage these elements even better by making use of these two sections to convert the numbers, allowing for more precise and flexible control over the arrangement and organization. The next section is related to sending comments or not sending them, where we can enable or disable this option, and after that we click the confirm button. The next tab is related to take profit and stop loss, where we can enable or disable the sending of take profit and stop loss. By default, these options are enabled, and I can easily execute trades that issue both take profit and stop loss orders. However, if I choose to disable the take profit option here, its orders will be deactivated and will not be placed for my trades. The same applies to stop loss as well. As you can see, the stop loss feature has also been deactivated here, which means that no stop loss orders will be issued for this particular trade. In addition to the take profit and stop loss sending modes, there are two other options here, same value and same distance. These two sections are for specifying the trade size because there might be differences in trade execution and entry between two brokers, and depending on the trading positions, their values might differ slightly, usually measured in points or pipettes. Here, we can choose between same value and same distance, but by default, and as the best option, same value is selected. After that, we click on confirm and save our changes. The next tab is the lot tab, where we can select different execution modes for orders. For example, here I enter a trade with a volume of one lot, and in this section you can see that the trade is executed with a volume of one lot, or here we can select the half lot size option, meaning that for every trade executed on the master platform, half of that volume will be executed on the slave platform. Here I enter a trade with a volume of one lot, but in this section you can see that a trade with a volume of 0.5 lot or half a lot has been executed for us. The next mode is also 1/3 of the original amount, and the last option is based on custom, where we can enter our desired amount. For example, I can enter 72,500 units here, save the settings, and execute the trade. As you can see in this section as well, based on the command we set, 72,500 units are entered here. They set it to the default amount and I click the confirm button. In the next section, we enter the slave settings, which are mostly similar to the master settings, but some additional features have also been provided for us. For example, in this section, we can see that all the filtering for timeframes and trading days is available here. At the bottom, there is an extra option called Open Before for situations where, on the master platform, we execute a trade, and then on the platform where we want to have the slave, we run the expert advisor so it can execute and take that trade. To do this, we need to activate this option. For better understanding, I will deactivate the expert advisor here and remove it from the chart. On the master platform, I will execute a trade, and then on the slave platform, I will run the expert advisor again. I select the slave, and here I select the Open Before Drag option, and after that I click Confirm. As you can see, the trade has been executed for me here. In the lower section, we can also select the server difference to Greenwich Mean Time, which by default is set to 120 minutes, but we can change this value. We must definitely consider the Greenwich Mean Time and server time when sending information, and every position that is sent is based on these values. The amount of time we enter here is subtracted from it, and even if the time is negative, like New York time, it converts the negative to positive and matches it to Greenwich Mean Time. That means after it changes to a positive time, it is subtracted from the time and sent to the server, and it is saved on the data at Greenwich Mean Time. And if our time is negative, meaning it is behind Greenwich Mean Time, for example, if our time is New York time, it adds the value until it reaches Greenwich Mean Time. And at that moment, based on what we entered here, it is saved there. The Close All Copies option is also related to this, and based on the time we enter here, we can activate this option. For example, here I executed a trade and set the stop loss and take profit for it. And in this section, by activating this particular option, I am able to select, specify, and determine the closing time of all trades, transactions, or orders based on the official server time that is currently being used. Right now, at this very moment, the time displayed is exactly 23:31. And then it changed just a moment later to 23:32. And here, in this field, I enter the new time, which is 23:33. After that, once I have finished making these adjustments, I save the settings and preferences that I have carefully configured and set up here, ensuring that everything is properly saved and applied as intended. By saving this information, when the time reaches the selected time interval in minutes that we've set, it will automatically close the trade for us. Hoi! Right now, we've chosen the 23.33 minute time interval, and in about 20 seconds, it will reach our target time. Here, we can see that when the selected time is reached, it closed the trade for us in this section. Now, I'll deactivate this option, save the settings, and move on to the next tab. In this tab, just like the previous master, we can select the trading symbols we want to receive information for. There are options for Market Watch, All Chart, which is for trading symbols that are currently open here, and One Chart, where by selecting this mode, only the trading symbol on which the expert is running will receive commands. If you choose the custom mode, only the trading symbols you specify here will receive commands and execute trades. In the next section, you can also enter trading symbols for which you don't want to receive commands. For example, if I enter the symbol GBPUSD, then if I execute a trade on GBPUSD in the master account, the slave account will not receive the trade. In this section, I enter GBP USD here, and if I execute a trade here, the trade will not be received in the slave section for me. They change it to the default mode. In the next section, we can also enable or disable the status of the prefix and suffix, and set the symbol prefix or suffix here. This is because, in some brokers, trading symbols have suffixes or prefixes, which we can set here. Currently, both of our brokers are the same, and the suffixes they have are identical. However, in some brokers, this section is variable, and it's possible that the master platform and the slave platform are not the same, and we might use different brokers. In that case, we can use this section, enable the option, and set the suffixes or prefixes here. The next section is related to converting symbols to each other. For example, on the master platform, the trading symbol for Bitcoin is displayed as Bitcoin, but on the slave platform, the Bitcoin symbol is shown as BTC/USD. So here I would write the symbol. Of course, please keep in mind that both of my platforms are using the same broker. But as an example, I'll enter it here, and you can see that it changes Bitcoin to BTC/USD for me. Here you can clearly see that BTC/USD has now been set, and we are able to enter up to 3 different trading symbols here in this section. The next tab is related to the position tab, where you can also enable or disable the 2 modes, lying position and short position. Here, I disable the short position mode, so it will only receive lying position commands. As you can see, when I execute the account's slave command, it receives the commands, but when I execute a sell position, it doesn't receive any command here. The next tab is the General tab, where all its sections are just like the master mode, but there are additional options such as account to copy and account to not copy. Here we can enter the master account so that it only receives commands from the account we specify here. For example, here I enter my online account. And by confirming the settings, when I execute a trade, it will carry out the trade in this section. However, if I have entered a different account, and as a result, it will only receive commands from that account. And as you can see in this section, it does not receive any commands from this account. We can add 2 trading accounts in this section. Also, we can enter the trading accounts from which we do not want to receive commands here. In the lower section, we can enter the magic to copy and magic to not copy, and specify the magics we want to receive or not receive here, along with comments. In the last section, we can also specify the drawdown and profit status, which is calculated based on the daily balance and displayed here. The first part is related to drawdown. By enabling this option, we can enter the desired daily drawdown amount in the field opposite, which is set to 2% by default. This means that at the start of the day, if our account balance drops below 2%, it will not receive commands from the master account and will not follow other commands either. The next section is related to profit, which is set to 3% by default. By enabling this option and specifying the desired profit percentage, if our account balance increases based on the percentage we set here, after that, the slave trading account will no longer receive any commands from the master. The next section is related to receiving alerts when executing trading commands from the master account, and here I enable this option. If I execute a trade on the master account and its command is received by the slave account, you can see here that a message is displayed for us on the screen. The next tab is related to the TP and SL tab, where you can, just like on the master account, enable or disable the receipt of take profit and stop loss, and here you can choose between the 2 modes, same value and same distance. However, in this section, the ability to receive take profit and stop loss is available in multiplier mode and based on points. If we select the same value mode, we can only choose based on the number of points here and calculate its multiplier here. For example, here I set the take profit and stop loss values to 2. And here I click confirm. Here I carefully execute a trade, set the stop loss and take profit levels, and, as always, ensure everything is properly configured. The trade is executed for me here. I set the values that I specifically mentioned here, but I don't really see any noticeable difference in the execution of trades. However, if I set the values here to 0 and also select the stop loss and take profit to 200, we can see that the values are also calculated in the program, and here it is currently displayed, and in this section, by selecting the same value mode in the take profit point section, we can, based on the distance from the entry point, proceed accordingly. We can enter a specific distance value for take profit and stop loss based on points, and from there our calculations will be considered. As you can see from the point where we set the stop loss, it has moved 200 points downward, and from the point where we set the take profit, it has moved 200 points upward. If we select the same distance mode, we can also set the multiplier value here. In this section, you can see that based on the point value, if it is 0, it works normally, and if you select a value here, it will multiply the specified distance by 2 and apply the multiplier, performing the calculations and determining the take profit and stop loss levels for us. In this section, I am setting their values to 0. So now the distances have been set for us and everything is ready. I will also set these values to 0 so that they are displayed in their default state. The last option here is related to not executing trades when the master account places a trade without a stop loss. Here I enable this option so that if the master account executes a trade without a stop loss, the order will not be received. However, in this case, I will close the trade and in this section, I will execute a trade, for example. I place it here and execute the trade in this section. Here we can see that a trade has been executed for us and its orders have been received in this section. The last tab is related to the lot tab, where we can also, based on the order sent from the master to the slave, when an order is issued, make sure to specify its volume. The first option available here is called same lot size, which means that whatever order is sent from the master, it receives the same. Alternatively, we can also select the set lot size mode, where I will execute a one lot trade here, specifically based on the instructions for a one lot trade. By confirming the orders, you ensure that the trade volume matches your preferences. It will execute the trade here for me with a volume of half a lot. So we know that if the original was one lot, it will halve it and display it here for us as half a lot. The next mode is a fixed mode, which executes the orders with a fixed volume here. And the last mode is the custom mode, where by selecting this option in the custom section, we can enter our desired volume here. For example, I enter 72,500 here. If I place a trade order manually, you can see in these sections that a volume of 7,500 is being executed in this part of the trade. Alright friends, we've reached the end of the master and slave mode section, and now the only option left for us to discuss is the read-only mode. Here, in order to activate the read-only mode, what I do is change the platform configuration. I set MetaTrader 4 to slave and MetaTrader 5 to master. This setup allows us to see how the read-only mode works in practice. Let's move forward and take a closer look at this process together. As we can see in this section, when a trade is executed on the slave account, the trade is also executed for us. I will close the trade here. Here we saw that the account which is executed on the master platform is shown to us. On this platform as well, it displays the same account for us. However, in this section, we do not have the ability to cancel, close, add, or modify trades. This platform has been accessed using the investor password. Regarding the account, read-only accounts cannot be traded on. You can only view trades and cannot execute or modify any positions. So, a read-only account can never be a slave account in any trading system. A read-only account can only be a master account. This account might belong to someone on social media or in online channels who has shared it with users, and in this case, it is only provided to traders in read-only mode so that users can only see the trades but cannot modify them in any way. As you can see here, unlike the other section where we can easily set stop loss and take profit, here we can only view the trades. In this situation, by designating and setting this account as the master, we can review all the trades of the account we are currently monitoring and execute trades. Here I am removing the expert advisor from this account. They set the investor account to read-only mode and turn it on. And on the other side, they also set the MetaTrader 4 platform to active and on. Here, we can see that all the trades executed from this side are also executed on our target platform. In this section, we don't have the ability to manipulate the price, but it copies all the trades from here and executes them for us in this part. As we can see, the stop loss, the take profit, and all other details are displayed here for us. Think of it this way, just like the master account. Its job is to read and store information, and by itself, it doesn't have any practical use, but it copies the trades and executes them in the target account. So in this section, they close the trade, and here we can also see that the trade has been closed for us, making it easy for us in the slave account. We can set up the risk management settings and the analyses we want right here in the settings. And easily execute trades. Well, friends, we've reached the end of this expert advisor tutorial. We'd be happy if you share your comments and suggestions with us in the comments section.